tell you that it's podcast time. Hello, everybody. This is Mr. NSFW, your host. And this is the inaugural edition of Muta Scale Radio. Inaugural, that's right. Smashing a bottle upside the front side of this bitch. Let's go. I'm here to tell you a few things about WWE Extreme Rules. Pay-per-view that just happened last night. I can probably sum it all up in audio form by saying meh. But let's face it, the WWE product these days seems to be very meh. Anyways, it's not necessarily terrible, but it's not necessarily the greatest thing I've ever seen either. Alright, so let's break down. The first match of the night was the Intercontinental title match, which for some odd reason was if the champion gets disqualified, the champion loses the belt. Now, this only seems strange because this pay-per-view is called Extreme Rules. That's not that extreme of a rule. I do have to give them credit, though, because finally, the champion came out second. They have this bad habit of making the person with the belt come out first if the person coming out second is going to get the better response. And that's not the way it should be. Champions should always come out second because they're the bigger deal. And really, all in all, the match was not bad. Miz is a really solid worker. He's a lot better than I think a lot of people give him credit for. Mainly because he was on the real world, which somehow makes his ability to pretend to be a fighter less legitimate. I have no idea. But, I mean, he's good, and he's a fantastic heel. He runs his mouth really well, and as I said, not a bad in-ring worker, and the pairing of him with his wife just seems to fit really well. Mind you, if my job was to run my mouth while my wife sits there and looks pretty, I'd probably want to do my best to make it the best damn job possible, too. And Dean Ambrose, where do I begin with Dean Ambrose? The guy has gone from what the lunatic fringe making sense to it being a gimmick. And I know wrestling, superstars have gimmicks, and that's the idea. But this gimmick is no longer the cool kind of character gimmick, and is more of the type of, it's just there to sell T-shirts. And speaking of T-shirts, no good Dean goes unhinged. When did that make it off the cutting room floor? Like, that makes no goddamn sense to me. Who was sitting at a table and went, it's a play on words. It's cool, right? It's going to sell a million shirts. It's going to be great. Really? Is it? I mean, I could be eating my own shoe here. I could see 1,000 of them next week on Raw. But as of right now, I don't see anybody buying that because that is ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, Ambrose needs to go back to the gym, not physically, but to learn how to strike. I've heard interviews with him before where he said that, I will make a strike look as clean as possible, and I'll never hit you, and you'll never know. Well, I disagree, Dean, because every time I watch you throw punches, I see you not hitting. I see you grazing, I see you missing, I see you just flailing your limbs and trying to make it look like you're doing something, but you're really not. And in a world with Shinsuke Nakamura and Finn Balor, Hideo Itami, even goddamn Brock Lesnar, you need to make your hits look legit. You need to. There's no room whatsoever for a guy who's just going to whiff things into the air. And rabbit punches are the absolute worst. Absolute worst. On to the next match, which was a mixed tag match with Noam Dar and Alicia Fox, taking on Sasha Banks and Rich Swann. Rich Swann, the hometown hero here in Baltimore, old Dancy Pants McGee. I mean, I'm going to talk shit about the act. The gimmick is ludicrous. The gimmick is kind of silly. It's a bit stale, but I can't say stale, but they've used the look at me, I can dance, I'm the life of the party, I'm having fun. They've used that gimmick to death. But the one thing that this guy does that others don't is he is a phenomenal athlete. The man knows how to do things that I can't even wrap my head around. And the smile may be ugly, but god damn it, is it contagious. The only problem with this whole thing is what happened to Sasha Banks. She was the golden child of the women's division coming out of NXT. Just the boss couldn't do no wrong. And she got into, like, she was in feuds with Charlotte and Bayley and Becky Lynch, and they all just worked really, really well together, and everything was great. For some odd reason, switch her to the main roster, and she gets nothing. She gets praised briefly for being, the start of the women's revolution, but what good did that do when now she's not even in title contention? She's not in any kind of contention. I mean, she's just there to fill the gap needed to make a mixed tag match with another couple, even though they're not actually a couple. But the match itself actually wasn't half bad. I like Noam Dar, I really do. I want to see him get in more, and I'm sorry, that accent, ew. But he just seems to be too much of a welcome mat at this point. He's not much of anything. He just kind of is there. He needs a little bit more drive than, I come out with my girlfriend, and did I mention she's my girlfriend? That gimmick hasn't gotten anybody over, and I don't think it's going to work for him either. The only problem, I see overall with the match, is the fact that the mixed tag formula, which is, for those that don't know, the girls can fight the girls, the guys can fight the guys. The two cannot mix, however. A guy gets in the ring, the male partner has to then leave. The male gets in the ring, the other male has to enter the ring, and the female has to leave. And vice versa if the female comes in. This ruins the drama that is the hot tag, when that person's been sitting there and they're on the outside and they're just waiting for that hot tag, waiting to get tagged in so they can fire it up, and the crowd is just waiting. They're like, please, 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 and then it happens. You will not get that in a mixed tag match, because all it takes is one leaving and there it goes. That's not a hot tag. I mean, technically, in this case, the guys were, double down. The girls just jumped in and started attacking each other. Mind you, that builds a little bit of drama, so there was at least that. But it doesn't leave enough room for the hot tag to have the crowd really go crazy. But Sasha Banks, they're going to go crazy anyways. She comes off the top rope to the outside with a double knee on the Noam Dar, which I'm impressed she got back up afterwards, because I can't even imagine going knee first from the top all the way to the outside, and she got up like it was nothing. Where'd she get them knee pads? Because holy shit. I'm going to take time out here for a quick unrelated rant. There was a commercial for KFC sending their spicy chicken sandwich into space. Not that the commercial really has anything to do with it, but they talked about the fact that they perfected the difficult task of making the crunchy chicken sandwich. And my only complaint with that is that really difficult? I mean, they're not the first, and they're probably not going to be the last. I'm not going to say if they're the best, because I don't believe that they are, but, I mean, still, it's just, I know, completely unrelated, but midway through the event, we decided that we're going to throw in the piss break moment, which is the Drifter. Elias Sampson sitting down with his acoustic guitar, which, when he was leaving NXT in a Loser Leaves NXT match, his original acoustic, which was your dollar store acoustic, got smashed. Now all of a sudden he makes it to the main roster after having lost his job at NXT, and he's got a high-end, much, much better acoustic. I mean, I get it. Main roster, higher end, bigger budget, but he's the Drifter. He should have picked this thing up for $50 somewhere, not what looks like a $400 guitar. Anyways, he plays a song talking shit about Baltimore, about how it's just bathed in filth and how the faces of the people just depress him. The whole place is depressing and things like that. And I mean, I have been to Baltimore. Yes, there's some spots that are a little, but you go down a street and you're driving by Sesame Street houses. How does that not make you feel good? And the food? Fantastic. Fantastic food. And I mean, it's just like any city. There's going to be good places. There's going to be bad places. Mind you, that's irrelevant with what the Drifter's trying to do here. His whole shtick is that he's trying to play an acoustic. While doing so, he's playing the worst goddamn Pink Floyd cover ever, I might add. I know he thinks it's original, but it was Pink Floyd. Couple of tweaks in the tuning. It was a Pink Floyd cover, and it sounds like shit. But his method of gaining real, genuine heel heat is to sing when nobody wants him to, and to talk shit about wherever he is. And that's weak, kind of cheap heat, but on the same token, that's the way you do it. I mean, that's the easiest way I can think of to really get people upset with you, is to just talk shit about their hometown. Granted, if you did that around here, I don't think you'd be any worse for wear. On to the third match of the evening, fourth segment, women's title match between Alexa Bliss, the reigning champion, and Bayley. This is a kendo stick on a pole match, which, for those of you that don't know, but most of you probably should, if you're listening to me, because this is a wrestling podcast. I know, could I be more condescending? I'm sorry. Anyways, that is, a kendo stick is hanging on a pole in the corner of the ring, and the first person to climb up and grab it gets to use it. My question is, what happens if they drop it? Well, the answer to that question is, she dropped it, and it allowed the other person to use it. This is probably something they should have taken less time to talk about, or more time to explain, maybe. Something along those lines, anyways. The one thing that is kind of a bitch is, previous event, we were in Bayley's hometown, and she lost the belt to Alexa Bliss. Kind of a blow to lose the belt. But the match before this, Rich Swann picked up the victory, and he was a Baltimore native. So I mean, I'd be bitter, but then again, I'm pretty much always bitter. Before the match really got underway, while Bayley was making her entrance with her wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men all over the place, a couple of which weren't very wacky or waving or inflated for that matter. I mean, I feel like they're phoning it in on these things, but hey, whatever. It's a cheap gimmick it's gotta go, because the more they build her up to look like a child, the less interesting she's going to be for the majority of the audience. I mean, yes, there are children in the audience that love her. There are going to be women in the audience that love her. But, I mean, they don't do enough to make Bayley seem like a strong contender. She seems like a child in big girl's clothing, with the hugging and the always smiling and the I'm going to do the right thing even if it kills me. And it really does not help matters any. You know, she, like I said, the hugging and all of that stuff, but she used the line in the beginning, I went to go see Wonder Woman and it made me feel empowered. So you used a fake heroine to convince yourself to go in and pretend to be a heroine. The two, I guess, aren't mutually exclusive, but it's a bad sell. And speaking of bad sell, before the match even started, while Bayley's doing her, there ain't no stopping us now, you did it. Well, she's doing all of this, and the crowd is unfortunately kind of not into it. They go through all of the different announce teams, the German, the Spanish, the Japanese, the Hindi, the the Portuguese, that was dumb. Almost every single one of them at some point makes mention of Brock Lesnar. The problem of which being, he's not even at the fucking event. We're making it seem like it's this huge goddamn deal. He's not even at the event. Has not been to an event since SummerSlam. But he's still a big deal. I mean, he's still the champion for whatever reason. He's a rant I'm going to get into at some point, but I'm not going to get into it right now. Inaugural episode, we got to be semi-negative, semi-positive. I'm not going to lose everybody by dropping a giant deuce all over the undisputed champion, but goddammit, I'm gonna. Anyways, the match itself was, I've heard a lot of downplaying it and talking about how bad it is, and admittedly, the childlike antics of, oh, I'm gonna hit you with a stick, oh, you better hope I got it, I'm gonna hit you with it, oh shoot, I dropped it. No, don't hit me, no, ow, she hit me with it. You know, I mean, to smash the shit out of her with it. And smash her she did. To the point where I'm a little amazed if she didn't get in a little bit of trouble, because these days you're not supposed to be going for headshots of any kind with any kind of weapon. And she cracked Bayley in the back of the head / neck with it, and that's ugh. It wasn't a really hard shot though, so I mean, at least there is that, but it's still. And she beat her like she owed her money. And I mean, it was good. And I mean, Alexa Bliss is just, she's just so good at what she does. Just mean faces. I mean, her insults are a little high school, but let's face it, when you're fighting against a child, why go any further than that? But she's great. And So the stick ends up balanced in the corner. Bailey winds up taking a digger on it, catches the side of her face on it, a spot which I was impressed with due to the overall act of it, but not that impressed when you realize she just kind of fell on it. Like, falling on the stick is worse than getting hit with it. So, falls out of the corner after taking that shot and then gets DDT'd, and that is Bliss's new finisher. It's just a straight DDT. And you know what's funny? So many people, especially the old timers, the Jim Rosses and the Stone Cold Steve Austins of the world, they're complaining because the DDT used to be a finisher, and now, all of a sudden, it's used as a segue move. It's just there for a quick potential 2 count. False finish spots. And that's all fine and good, but, they're also like, it needs to come back to its former glory. But then, when people start using it for its former glory by using it as a standard finisher, no fancy nothings, no pump handles, no jumps, no spinnies, no flippy-doos, no beepity-bops, none of that. Just straight tap you on the back, plant your face in the middle of the mat for the 1, the 2, and the 3. But all of a sudden, the IWC, Internet Wrestling Community, they get upset. Like, it's just the DDT. She needs something better. The DDT is boring. I don't understand. Really? It's effective. And it's a goddamn classic. And if we can live with the attitude adjustment, which is John Cena's finishing move, for as long as we have, even though people are, you need a new finishing move, if we can deal with that, then I think we can deal with the DDT being a finisher. I like it. I personally love the DDT. Always have. Variants on it are great, but just the straight old DDT is fantastic for me. So the match wasn't bad at all, but I mean, there were some points that were kind of and the Bailey just being a baby is, I mean, God, enough already. She needs something, whether it's like a mean streak or to just walk away for a while to come back refreshed. I don't know. Like, it's just, I mean, after Alexa has caned her like she broke a rule in a Thai household, the fact that she brought up like insults about her family, and she made her like ex-best friend and one of her ex-boyfriends make out with each other in front of her. Like, oh, I never really liked Bailey. I just tried to do this for this one. I don't even know what that, like, it's really difficult to argue that Bailey is too childish when your method of fighting against her is childish. But aside from the silly little nitpicky things like that, overall the match was enjoyable. A bit too short for my taste, especially for the fact that it was a title match. A goddamn title match should go longer than like 6 minutes. It really should. On to the next one, a tag team ladder match between the Hardys and Sheamus and Cesaro. Not ladder match, I'm a fucking stoops. Cage match. A cage match. Now, this wouldn't be that big of a deal, except for the whole shtick behind the cage match is both partners need to be out of the ring at the same time to win. One can go out, but until the other one goes out, there is no victory. Now, this doesn't seem like that silly of an idea, except for this is a very silly idea. Because there's no pinfall, no submission, and it's all up to the two partners to make it out of the ring. So what happens is, they fight, they do this, they do that. If you head smashed against the cage, that's good. Crowd's chanting delete because they're dying for the Hardy Boys to go broken. I don't know. I don't see it happening anytime soon because TNA is gripping the hell out of that, squeezing as much blood out of the WWE stone as they can. And who can blame them? I mean, they're going tits up and they need money. And that's the only thing they can really cling to. That's a lifeline. Anyways, so, good spots from everybody all around. Jeff Hardy winds up being the first one out, which is a problem because he's out there while his brother Matt is in the ring, and Matt is now getting double teamed. And every time Jeff tries to get back in, he's thrown back out, which is also a little silly because you don't want the person out there because that's extra leverage for you to win. But, so, he finally finds his way back in. And honestly, I think the only reason this was a cage match instead of like a ladders match, a TLC match, even a regular tables match would have been fantastic. I think the only reason this was a cage match is so Jeff could jump off of the cage because Jeff's an adrenaline junkie and that's what everybody knows about him. That's what everybody loves about good old Jeff Hardy is how he's willing to jump off of stuff. He's willing to jump off of stuff. That's marketing at its finest. Anyways, doesn't go according to plan, and Sheamus and Cesaro end up out of the cage together, and celebration! Yay! Cesaro's got a tag title again! Which is only a bummer because Cesaro is so talented. And they always put him in tag teams where he plays, a partner. I mean, he's been in tag teams for a huge chunk of his career. Him and Chris Hero, now Cassius Ohno on NXT, used to be the Kings of Wrestling, and they were phenomenal. And I mean, but he's had such great solo matches. He is so goddamn good. He's probably the most overall talented guy on the roster. I mean, I could argue that point with others, but he just is. But of course, no, because he's in a tag team, and oh well, at least he's getting more praise and everything, and I'm happy to see that. I'm also happy to see that he's a heel because he works way better as a heel. I do like him, playing to the crowd, but he plays to the crowd better as a heel. He just does. On to the next match for the Cruiserweight title. Now, the Cruiserweights are... Me saying that bit about Cesaro being the most talented guy, the Cruiserweights are probably the most talented guys not on the roster, because they're not. I mean, they're shown on Raw, they get their way onto Raw pay-per-views and stuff, but 205 Live, which is WWE's middle of the week, well, not really, on live after Tuesday nights, after SmackDown, which is such a terrible time frame for that. Just nobody cares. Nobody cares. And it's a bummer, too, because there is some serious talent going on there. Specifically, these two, Austin Aries and Neville, the king of the Cruiserweights. Man, the restart that they hit on Neville is one of the best things they've done in the last year. Like, I can't even stress enough how great he is, because he came in and they were like, oh, we like this gimmick of he's the man that gravity forgot. That's cool, right? Let's make him a superhero. He'll come out with a cape and dance around to dubstep, and great, because he's the man that gravity forgot. And it was all about the hype with this guy, and just his finishing move, the Flippy McGillicuddy off the top. Everybody just crazy about that, and it's like, oh, he's so great, and man, the gravity forgot, it's good, it's marketable. No, stop. This guy is fantastic. And now that he's angry and bitter and acts like the world owes him something, got a gigantic fish and chip on his shoulder. That's a joke because he's English. Because of that, he's so good. So good. And Austin Aries has been around for a long time in the indies, and he is also so good. He's a little rough around the edges now because he's getting a little doughy, and I mean, he's getting older. It's fine. He's had injuries. Old Shinsuke Knock busted his orbital socket, and he's just coming off of surgery there, but everything seems to be good. And this is a submission-only match, meaning the only way to win is to make your opponent tap out to a submission. Now that right there means no pinfalls, no countouts, no DQs. But I guess that doesn't mean that. There's apparently a fine print bullshit written in here that says you can be counted out. And there are disqualifications because, after trading shots with each other and trading attempted holds and attempts at making each other tap out and everything, Aries gets Neville in the last chancery, which is his submission finisher. Sort of essentially like a guillotine choke / neck crank / Boston camel clutch, Boston cramp. God, I'm sorry, folks. I have to apologize for how stupid I am. Million miles a minute, this thing. So, puts him in the last chancery in the ring. They end up rolling out of the ring onto the floor, and while they're rolling out, Aries doesn't let go of the hold. They land on the outside of the ring. He puts him back into it, and while he's out there, Neville starts tapping. So you're thinking, oh, look, he made him tap. He won. No, he can't tap on the outside, apparently. And the ref is like, no, you have to get him back in the ring. Get him back in the ring, and starts counting. Counting for what? A count out? A disqualification? Neither of these should be a thing. Neither of these things should be a thing. But, anyways, back in the ring. They're going through the motions again. He gets him back into the last chancery, and while he's got him there, Neville takes advantage of trying to get the ref to get him out of it. When they finally break it up, they're fighting, they're tussling, they're going through this, that, and the other thing. Somehow Neville ends up outside. I'll be honest, I'm saying just somehow because it was fairly late and somebody is an old man and decided he was going to get a little weepy-eyed and sleepy-eyed and sort of might have missed a few minutes close to the end. I did see that Neville ends up on the outside, and along comes Austin Aries with a flying dive through the ropes. Neville ducks it. Aries crashes and burns hard on the outside. And he's laying there like he's dead. And fantastic sell. Neville picks him up, rolls him in the ring, got him on his stomach, climbs up, hits his finisher, the Flippy McGillicuddy. That's not actually what it's called. And crushes his back. And immediately goes into the rings of Saturn, a double arm lock that absolutely taps him out. He looks like he's thinking maybe no, and then he just starts, yeah, I'm tapping out, yeah. So Neville retains his title for a third time against Austin Aries. And I gotta tell you, this was a fantastic match, minus the brief part that I fell asleep to. And that has nothing to do with the match. That is simply to do with me being lazy. Now, that ending was fantastic. The only flaw is at some point while Neville is congratulating himself, Austin Aries rolls out of the ring and he's shown sitting up against the ring on the outside. They zoom in and he has this bizarre looking up over his brow smile look on his face, like something very, very shifty, borderline creepy. And I don't get it. There was no semblance of explanation for this at all. They just left it as is. No explanation. And you'd think he'd be a little more upset about it, but no, he's sort of like, I just got beat. Though admittedly, much as it raises the eyebrow, I'm interested to see what this is doing. Is this some kind of turn in his character? Is he now going to be completely unstoppable because he's just beyond irate at everything? Who knows? Who knows? Well, WWE Creative knows, but actually, that's me giving them far too much credit. They probably don't know either because they don't like to plan things ahead. As much as people like to be like, wait for the stories to build themselves. They don't write stories anymore. They don't even write short stories. They write quips. They write birthday cards. They write postcards, wish you were here notes. I'm sure 90% of the storylines for most of the shows are probably on post-it notes stuck all over the place. Good news is the fridge is full, but bad news is that's not how you book a goddamn wrestling company. All right. Main event, a fatal 5-way between Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, and Roman Reigns. Now, this is all set up to be the winner of the match gets to go on to, you're going to love this, the next WWE Raw pay-per-view in 5 weeks, which is called Great Balls of Fire. I'm going to give you a second. Just let that set in. Payback, Royal Rumble, King of the Ring, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Backlash, Extreme Rules, Money in the Bank. Some of these you can kind of see, and yes, they're a little silly, but they all kind of work within that wrestling vein. Great Balls of Fire. Are you shitting on my face right now? That is goddamn ridiculous. That may be the worst thing ever. And, the commercials. The commercial, like the Bobby socks and the 50s cars and the let's go down to the malt shop and get it soda. I appreciate nostalgia and silly retro things like that because to me, they can be kind of funny and a little bit silly, but not in an event that's supposed to be serious, especially considering this is supposed to be Brock Lesnar taking on whoever wins this match for the Universal title. I'm not buying it. Not buying it. They better shoot the whole thing in black and white. That's all I'm saying. So, this match was fantastic. And absolutely should have been with the level of talent that was in it. There are so many things I can say about so many of these guys. I mean, Finn Balor is just, he was an indie darling, now he's a pro darling, and he is amazing. And he's got the look. He's small, but he's got a great physique. He's absolutely a charisma machine. And his moveset is good. A little stiff, and is probably going to be, some of it will be a little bit tougher to pull off on bigger opponents, i.e. Brock Lesnar, but not impossible. And he's over. He's very, very over. Samoa Joe is an absolute destroyer. He was just murdering people on the indie scene, and everywhere he goes, he leaves a trail, or he should. And for whatever reason, WWE has not booked him that way. They did have him destroy Seth Rollins, which is a great idea. Just, he's done nothing. He's done little to nothing since showing up. So seeing him actually do some damage in this match is fantastic. I mean, I'm sorry, a big Samoan guy with legitimate martial arts training it's bad news for everybody. Seth Rollins is the hype train. The guy can do no wrong. I mean, the man got in trouble for sharing dick pics online with a girl. And the worst they did was they made him lose a match at WrestleMania to a highlight reel ending, which is going for his then finisher, the curb stomp, and getting RKO'd out of it in midair. Like, that thing is still shown. Yes, he got beat for it, but, I mean, it's still highlight reel, and people remember it. And now, he's in the run for the title again after injuries. I mean, he's so good. I wish he dove a little bit less. I wish he took the fact that he just got back from knee surgery a little more seriously. But, man, is he good. Bray Wyatt, Mr. So you all like to play games, huh? You like to play a game of war? I can take it. Follow the buzzards. I mean, the Cape Fear shtick is incredible. He's got just the look and the feel, the way he cuts his promos, it sends chills down your spine. He is a fantastic speaker, and he is a damn good worker in the ring, too. The problem is, he has suffered more from the 50-50 booking bullshit and the craziness that is start, stop booking. Oh, it's mind-numbing. He starts a feud, picks a fight with somebody. Him and when he had lackeys would come out, beat the hell out of them. The commentators would be like, he's scary. He's the face of fear. He's the Eater of Worlds. Are you kidding me? The Eater of Worlds? I fucking wish I had that name when I was wrestling. That is gold. But he doesn't look like an Eater of Worlds when he doesn't win any of his feuds. Picks a fight. He wins a throwaway pay-per-view match and a couple of matches on Raw or SmackDown. Then when it comes time to really seal the deal in a big-time event, he loses. And then he just moves on to somebody else. How are we supposed to take that seriously when the guy hasn't even had a run? I mean, he was a transitional champion. He won the SmackDown belt in an Elimination Chamber match, which absolutely floored me. I jumped out of my seat when I saw it, because Bray's my boy. And I could not believe that they actually put the belt on him, especially with the likes of Randy Orton and AJ Styles. Sorry, Randy Orton wasn't in the match. Randy Orton was one of his cronies at this point. But even so, AJ Styles. But he won it, but then he lost it to Randy a month later. God damn it, WWE. God damn it. And then the slick-haired, lantern-jawed, beautiful gray-eyed, those are contacts, by the way, elephant in the room, Roman Reigns. Look, say what you want about the fact that he is being absolutely stuffed down our throats. The guy can work. The guy is a solid in-ring worker. He takes well, he sells well, he delivers well, he is good. And I do not deny the fact that the guy is gonna be a star. It's in his genes, for Christ's sakes. He's in the same family lineage as The Rock and all the other great Samoans. And that family is just meant for wrestling. They're all good. He's great. And the fact that he is being booked as strong as he is as the goddamn Super Samoan, not necessarily his fault. What is his fault is the smug mug and the fact that he doesn't know which way to go with it. He gives you that smug face and he's just like, yeah, what? That's right. This is my yard. I run this show. But he's supposed to be a good guy. He fights with fans, but he's supposed to be a good guy. I don't know. And it's made just even more frustrating just because they continue to just... That was the sound of them stuffing Roman Reigns down our throats, which they do week after week after week after fucking week. I mean, they've tried so many things. He's won 2 Royal Rumbles. He has had WrestleMania moments, and they just can't get him to where they want him. But they're not going to accept that this is a failed experiment. No. We have to be stubborn at this point. A gimmick doesn't get over with another guy, send him back down to NXT, let him learn a few things. Gimmick like this doesn't get over, let's bury him. Things like this just don't work, it's fine. It's fine. Thing like this doesn't get over with Roman Reigns. Nah. You see, fans, Vincent Kennedy McMahon knows what's best for you. He's the one who invented professional wrestling. He probably invented you. Yes, that's right. Vincent Kennedy McMahon had sex with all of your mothers. All of them. I won't lie, there is a good chance he may have slept with some of them. And if that's the case, I'm expecting a very nice check with a not-so-nice card coming in the way. Though I really wish I got the genetics when it comes to the muscles. I'm all flab, no ab over here. Anyways, well, that was quite the tangent. Anyways, the failed experiment that is Roman Reigns. On display here, he comes out last. We split off into 3 groups. There is the Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt group fighting each other. There is the Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins group fighting each other. And then there's Roman Reigns. Mind you, I like the look of Roman Reigns walking around in the ring, cracking his knuckles, stretching, just looking on like, these guys can go ahead and fight. I'm just going to wait. It's a good look. His face sells that kind of I'm better than you attitude. And I'll be honest, I love that because the audience hates it. Reigns is in the same category as John Cena. They may be fantastic people. They may be passable in-ring workers. They may be the face of the company. But that doesn't mean I have to enjoy looking at them every single time I turn my TV onto the WWE Network. Now, eventually they start trickling into the ring and Reigns starts taking them out with all of his jumpy doos. Oh, wait, sorry. The jumpy doos don't happen first. First, he starts hitting them with Samoan drops. This is a move that is at one time a finisher, but is now a false finish. Now, he goes with Bray Wyatt first. Bray Wyatt, who is probably the second biggest guy in this match, the first biggest being Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is huge. Bray Wyatt, though, not exactly tiny. So he's fighting Bray Wyatt. Some odd reason he ends up having to put him on the top rope to get him onto his shoulders for a Samoan drop, which is a fireman's carry. They fall back. Now, he does this. Out goes Bray Wyatt. Samoa Joe comes in, starts picking a fight with him, tries to pick Roman Reigns up to hit him with a Samoan drop. Funny because they're both Samoans. Goes to pick him up. Reigns gets out of it and pretty easily scoops Joe up onto his back and gives him a Samoan drop. He rolls out of the ring. And we're fighting here, we're fighting there, fighting here, fighting there, people getting this in. Bray Wyatt and Samoa Joe form an unholy alliance, which they were a team. Look the fuck out. They are hurting people. And I, for one, couldn't be happier to see it. Legitimately just, would make my day. But, so, they're taking people out. There's people getting smashed onto tables. Tables aren't breaking yet, but they're getting smashed onto them. People getting hit through steel stairs. At one point, the 2 guys are running around with the stairs in their hands, and they're just smashing people with it because they can. And every time it looks like somebody's down and Joe's going to go for a pin, Wyatt looks at him and he kind of, I wasn't going to pin him. Let's keep beating this guy up. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Wyatt brings a chair in, starts cracking people with it, lays down a chair onto Finn Balor, and they start doing seated sentons onto them, jumping onto them, and just crushing Finn Balor with a chair. Doing what looked like a little more damage to themselves than to Finn, but you know what? It worked. It looked good. Of course, before this is a point where Bray has the chair in his hand and he's looking at Joe like, I'm just kidding. Lays the chair down and says, go ahead. He's all yours. When everybody starts getting back up and around and everybody's fighting with each other, Rollins has Bray Wyatt and Samoa Joe out of the ring. He goes for a dive, and Bray Wyatt, being the, intelligent mastermind that he is, pushes Samoa Joe in the way, so Joe takes all of it. Then he gets into the ring with Rollins and hits him with Sister Abigail, which is his finisher, and tries to go for the pin, which Joe breaks up. Joe angrily, what the hell was that? What was with that? And Bray, it was, you can't, and then he pushes him. And then they start going to town on each other, and the crowd is loving it. They're beating on each other. And then what they loved even more is, here comes Finn Balor with a chair, and he's just swinging. Put me in, coach. He is cracking people left and right with it, and you can see the fire in his eyes. He is beyond done. He's had enough of the fact that he keeps getting crushed by guys that are way bigger than he is, and he's had enough of this. He is going to beat everybody, and he is taking on the Beast incarnate for that championship. The one which, I might add, he never lost because he had to have it stripped due to injury. And he's just a house of fire. But what slows down that house of fire is Joe getting him in the coquina clutch, a rear naked choke, and Roman Reigns spearing the two of them through the outside barrier. That was a hell of a spot. Funniest part being looking at all of the people in the crowd leaning over and taking selfies of themselves with these three guys laying on the floor. But admittedly, a great spot. As much as I don't want to give Reigns that much credit, it was a great spot. While this is going on, Rollins has Bray Wyatt laying out on the Spanish announce table, and he does a frog splash from the top rope to the table, which I might add is fucking incredible. The man is amazing. I cannot stress enough how amazing he is. Scared me a bit, though, because he hit knee and shin first on the table hard, and I thought he did some damage. Sounded like he was screaming out at ringside. He looked like he was in a bad way. But apparently he was fine, because even though he was limping a little bit, he still managed to make it back into the ring and do what needed to be done. But we've got fighting here, we've got fighting there, we've got holy shit chants, we've got this is awesome chants, we've got exactly what you want in a pay-per-view main event, especially when the main event is called Extreme Rules. It's what you want. You want broken tables, smashed guardrails, you want bent chairs and the stairs to be busted up. You want all of this. I mean, a couple more table spots wouldn't have hurt, but, you can only use those so often to keep people down. In the end, Rollins and Balor are in the ring. Balor hits Rollins with a coup de grace, which is a double stomp off of the top, and goes for the pin. While he's going for the pin, Joe slides in and hits him with the coquina clutch again, and this time he passes out quote-unquote cold, and Samoa Joe is your winner. Samoa Joe is going on to Great Balls of Fire to take on the Beast Incarnate for the championship. Now, this is another came out of my chair moment because I didn't think it was going to happen. I know all 5 of these guys are potentially able to take on Brock Lesnar for the title, but Lesnar, who is built as the ultimate destroyer and the untouchable monster and Mr. I only work 3 days a year for more than 2/3 of this company makes in a year, each paycheck, he's just going to steamroll them. I know he's going to steamroll them. And I thought maybe we go with Bray first because Bray is very, and then nothing. We do say Finn Balor, who would go great against him, but he's too small. He's just too small. I know he'd put up a decent fight, but it's just doesn't work. Rollins and Brock have a history, so they could have a fantastic match, but in the end, still too small. Reigns is big enough to stand up to him, but what really got Reigns over in the first place was getting his shit pushed in by the Beast. I'll admit, I jumped on the Roman Reigns bandwagon only because the Beast beat the fuck out of him, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Couldn't have been happier. Oh, I'm just kidding. I was happier because that was the WrestleMania that Seth Rollins cashed in the Money in the Bank ladder match. That was another out of my seat moment. I was clapping. I was cheering. My buddy Scott, who in the future you may actually hear on this podcast, was we celebrated. We celebrated. I mean, I can't even. I may have kissed a man, and I think I liked it. I'm so excited. Could not believe that happened. Anyways, I'm completely off track here. So Seth Rollins and him could have had a great match, but still not that feasible. Reigns and him also could have a fairly good match. The problem is with the way that they're building Reigns, you actually might think that he could stop the Beast. And oh my God, if they give him another WrestleMania moment and put the belt on him and hear the boos, and they don't turn him into the biggest fucking asshole heel in WWE history. I mean, I'm talking be so bad that Roddy Piper pops out of his grave and goes, that is a bad fucking dude. Like, he has to be worse. Like you do that to him and everything, at that point, McMahon may as well come out with a Hitler stash. Like, he's officially become one of the worst people ever, because that's just terrible. WWE's gotten so much better. Think of Daniel Bryan. They totally listen to their fans. Do they? Because right now it looks to me like they're telling the fans, hey, I know what you like. I know what you like. Ugh. So that leaves Samoa Joe, who I feel is the best option because this is Beast versus Beast. The irresistible force meets the immovable object, although in this case it's immovable object meets an even more immovable object, and they're both legit badasses. They have the MMA background, though from what I know, Samoa Joe isn't used to the tits. But that doesn't necessarily make any argument for it. It's still, but good luck sandbagging him in Suplex City. Because Joe's not just Joe's gonna take it. He's gonna have to. But, it just seems to be the most legitimate thing. And that's great. That would be great. The problem is now that he won this match, he's going on to Great Ball of Fire. And it's going to be nothing. We may have a great match out of it, which I guess I can appreciate as a match fan, as a wrestling fan. But I mark out hard for Samoa Joe. Shinsuke Nakamura is my spirit animal. Samoa Joe is my waifu. Just love that man. And seeing him just steamroll Brock Lesnar would do my crusty old heart so much good. Look, I'd feel like I was 22 again. I'd probably go out and celebrate on the town. I'd buy a round for everybody. Just so happy. But it's not going to happen because WWE has something in their contract that says that kid, that fat, miserable bastard that hangs out in his room, watches wrestling, anime, and plays way too many video games, and somehow thinks that he has the right to hop on to a podcast and bitch to people like everybody needs to hear his super important opinion. That guy right there, we need to make sure he's upset because it's fun for us. I know that's me giving myself far too much credit. Nobody's listening to this. Nobody does need to hear my opinion. But I'm going to fucking tell you. And I'm sick of Lesnar. I'm sick of Reigns. We talk about how WWE needs to take a chance and start pushing other people. Well, they did. They pushed Jinder Mahal over on SmackDown, but that's an issue for another time. That will get discussed. Also, because I have my own stance on that I'm actually kind of surprised hasn't been. It has. People have definitely mentioned, why it's good, why it's bad. But I want to, give my 2 cents because they sound a little bit different. Not much different. I'm sure somebody said it. Now, a little bit briefly about this whole thing. This is a wrestling-themed podcast, but we will discuss other things. My goal with this is basically just to let you people know how this nerdy IWC member of the community, I guess, I don't know, just to let you know what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, how I feel the product has suffered in the last couple of years, and how it's grown by leaps and bounds. There's a lot of great things about professional wrestling these days, and I really don't want the bad to outweigh the good. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but you know what? It's still fun to me, damn it. But the whole point behind this is to do that, just to express things. But there's going to be points where me and other people discuss the events. We'll break down events and what we thought about them. There will be other times where I fantasy book different scenarios, old matches, new matches, who we would like to see against each other. And one definite plan is to start doing top fives. Top 5 favorite wrestlers, top 5 least favorite wrestlers, top 5 greatest matches, top 5 factions, top 5 finishers, top 5 worst finishers, all of these things. They're a great way to really get your opinion out, and they're good discussion topics, I think. But for now, I think I'm going to call it on the inaugural edition. This ship has sailed and come back to shore. And with any luck, it didn't sink too bad. This has been Muta Scale Radio, where we cut deep so you don't have to gig. This is Mr. NSFW, signing off. Good night, folks.